the 10 largest Ethereum wallets. We're watching them. I'm not talking about exchanges. I'm talking about the whales. You might be watching right now. We're going to tell you what's happening, what the moves that they are making, and should we follow them and swim with the sharks, swim with the whales, or are we going to get eaten up like plankton? This is Around the Blockchain. Please go ahead, take a second, hit that like button, help us out with the YouTube analytics. Guys, we got 3 great guests. You're not going to want to miss this. One of them's on a beach. Whoa, I'm going to get into that. But first, we have Kelly Kellam coming from the new location. If my eyes aren't mistaken, wait a minute. I think I didn't help put together any of that furniture. I came over too late, but I hope you moved some cardboard. Kelly, how are you breaking in the new apartment?
Hey, man, talking about moving cardboard. It's all right there, baby.
All right. I'll be back later. I'll be back.
Yeah, I'll do it. I appreciate your help, but I'm ready to talk about some crypto, man. Non-stop.
All right. Let's then we're gonna roll on over to Piano Maddie B. Looks like you're got the crashing waves in the background. What body of water is that? Is that off Epstein Island?
Well, kind of. This is it's still an abandoned insane asylum, but it's on Montauk Beach, so it's in the States now. It's very isolated. Not a lot of people. It's been abandoned. They did experiments here.
Okay. I thought I saw the Finger Lakes for a second. I wasn't sure. Also, we have Mind Your Biz rounded up in the red square, but with the purple background of Mind Your Biz. How was your week? How was the karate tournament? What was that name again? Let's give them a little shout out.
Hey, it's called Karate Combat, and I had a blast on Miami. Apparently, they're taking the show out to Las Vegas for the next one.
Ooh, so, all right.
A little longer.
All right. Well, I'm not going against Mike Perry. I refuse to go against him. But all right, let's get into the stories here. We're going to talk about the ETH Whales. We're going to talk about Cardano. Is it a commodity? What do you think? But first, we have FTX and the smoking gun that was just dropped from some court documents. It looks like the second report from John J. Ray III. It was released yesterday. There's a few bombshells here. We have a picture of SPF looking from the mercurial clouds that I don't know. Maybe this is from the polycule. But the report claims that the FTX executives, they were aware months ahead of time that they were insolvent and that $8 billion was missing, including SPF and other key executives. Another takeaway, they learned this in August. And in the following months, we had SPF, different podcasts, different Twitter spaces, talking to CoffeeZilla, saying, hey, guys, everything's fine. There are no funds that are commingled. Don't worry. There's no missing money. It's all there. Well, they knew months ahead of time that that was not true. And SPF in these documents described as being very hands-on in the furtherance of the overall fraud. There's also a couple wrinkles to the story. Some of the money, went to different things. They named an arena. They had the polycule in the Bahamas that we mentioned. Well, he gave his brother, SPF gave his brother $20 million for the company guarding against pandemics, against future pandemics, because we got against the future pandemics. And also another $400K, just a YouTube channel to make effective altruism videos. So all types of interesting areas where this money was heading. Now, with the recent discovery, Kelly, we got $7 billion in assets. We're short by $8 billion. There's a lot of money at stake here. There's a lot of money from the customers. There's a lot of money that's, kind of floating around with their assets. Is it worth it to restructure and relaunch and then maybe just make the whole process easier? Or do they need to dissolve everything and then, potentially we have a Mt. Gox situation?
Well, I mean, it's a good question. I think the first thing that comes to mind is I can't imagine why they would ever consider relaunching a business before they made all the previous customers whole, right? And, some of that's, we talk about SEC protections and President Biden going up there talking about, doing right by the consumer and wanting people to be whole. Well, let's talk about not just him, it's people on both sides of the aisle. How much money was donated to politicians? Did any of them give any of that money back to make their constituents whole? I don't think so. So in terms of FTX relaunching, I think it brings to question what the real motive was through all of this in the first place. Now, were they practicing good business practices? No, I've started, run, and sold probably 10 different businesses, and I've never been unaware when I've been even remotely close to low cash flow or low amount of accountability of where the funds were. So any sort of any sort of statement or even misdirection about them not knowing, or anybody even considering that they maybe didn't know, I think is completely misguided, because they were very aware of it every step of the way. Do I think it was a little probably overshadowed by the hopium, not just with them, but with every one of us in the space, about how fast money moves within crypto, and thinking that they would likely be able to cover their tracks quickly because the price go up? Well, maybe, but that doesn't discount the fact that they should have better accounting and business practices. And that, if anything, the silver lining here is it was a wake-up call for the entire space, both retail and institutional, to practice better account management with our own funds, as well as with other people's funds if we're running a business.
All right. Well, I'm glad you brought up the light side of what they could do. Now, Piano Matty B, let's assume they take some of these steps. They use better accounting principles. They use better business practices. They have John J. Ray at the helm here. Let's hope it goes better than the Enron collapse. I know he came in after. But let's say all these things happen. Would that be enough for you to use FTX 2.0? If not, what would it take for you to use FTX 2.0?
Oh, geez. I mean, maybe if it was the only on or off ramp in the entire galaxy, and we have explored the galaxy at this point, so we know there's nowhere else to get in or out. It was the only one. Oh, it's still a 50-50 but it's still a 50-50 if I go in. But here's the crazy part. They can do just that. They can start it up again. And guess what? The punters will come roaring in, because there's always new people, right? No matter how much you warn someone, oh, you shouldn't go into this FTX. The biggest scammer maybe of all time, like, no, it's fine. And they'll go in there and it'll blow up again, and they'll do it again, because they have no sense, like what Kelly was saying about his businesses. That's the real world. When you live in the real world and you have to pay employees and money is real, and if you run out of it, you run out of your business. Well, that's the real world. They live in the rock and roll fiat fantasy where it's like everything came free. Nothing means anything. They're throwing around millions of dollars to their friends, probably laughing while they do it. They're just psychopaths. What was the question?
Right. Rock and roll fiat fantasy. All right, that's now stuck in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like you said, it's the real world. They're going to have to stop being polite and start getting real. Well, it don't get more real than Mineyour Biz here. Now, I know we're going to try to do a little mind reading here. I try to stay away from that, but in the months after they knew they're insolvent, they see that there's $8 billion missing. SPF, he went on his little PR campaign. He's all over the place. He's doing interviews. He had the New York Times summit. He's on all the spaces. What do you think his motivation here? I imagine his parents, they got law degrees. They're telling him to shut up. His lawyers, probably telling him to shut up. His hairdresser, he hadn't seen in years, but he also would have said to shut up. What was his motives here, if you had to guess?
Well, DZ, I mean, first off, thanks for having me back on the channel. Always great to be back here with around blockchain.
Also, I am my own hairdresser. What about you?
I actually pay top dollar for this hairstyle. Shame on you. So just try supporting the economy and, buying local. Your hairdresser, your barber needs, his kids need lessons too, DZ. Just think about the children. But as far as like SPF's possible motive, doing the thing exactly the way he did it, basically the PR tour that he did, jumping on the spaces, being on the podcast, giving all the sound bites, and essentially trying to smooth things over the way he did. When you said like, okay, everyone's telling him to shut up, you presume that he actually said anything in all those appearances. And if memory serves, he didn't say, he's just spoke in circles. In every single space, people would ask him direct questions. He would, you ask him for the forest, he'd tell you the trees. Or worse, he would tell you the leaves. Or he would tell you like, something else entirely non sequitur. There was not a whole lot of substance to these appearances as he did this press tour. So as far as there being any kind of legal counsel urging him not to say anything, well, actually, bravo, SPF. You used a lot of words and literally said nothing. I remember all those public appearances because we were all just kind of waiting to latch on to something that he could say that we could then go back and make media about. And he really didn't give us a whole lot, to be honest. So everybody else's parents, I think if anything, he taught us all a masterclass in how to run a disinformation campaign and how to keep up looking over here when the people who actually did run accounting, the people who actually were in the positions of real accountability when it comes to finance and bookkeeping. They were over here either cooking the books or furiously slashing and burning, just getting rid of anything that could be damning evidence, while SPF was over there, playing this character, this everyman character that he put on, right? Trying to seem approachable and seem like the geek next door, and seem like the really nice autistic roommate that's going to fix your computer printer when it stops responding, because it's a network print. And all that stuff was nonsense. It was BS, right? So I think, I think he played his part really, really well. Was he coached in doing it? Maybe. But honestly, DZ, what I saw was a masterclass in deception every time he did those public appearances. I don't think he gave anybody anything.
Yeah, and speaking of he didn't get anything, he also couldn't get anything with League of Legends, despite his allegedly an amphetamine mixture, an amphetamine cocktail that would have the Nazis jealous. Still unable to get out of bronze. I don't know what was going on. That should have been the key point right there. It's not even a real gamer while on meth. So what was really going on? All right, well, let's talk about Cardano. Let's pull up the price real quick. Because I did the morning stream. We were down, I believe, around 2.5%. You can see this is about 6 hours ago when we were doing the show. Yeah, the low 28 cents. Well, we have flipped that loss into the green here. That's despite being delisted by Robinhood at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be 4 p.m. Pacific Time. They're delisting it. They're supposedly going to start market selling over the next few days. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel, folks, for Cardano fans. Just not in America. We're talking about overseas. Overseas, they're welcoming Cardano with open arms. It looks like first Hong Kong allowed the trading of Cardano with a few other assets, institutional clients. Now the fourth most populated country in the world just deemed it a commodity. This is a top 20 by GDP. Talk about Indonesia, their market regulators. It's official, folks. It's officially a commodity. Now, Kelly, we're not regulators here. I'm not going to ask you, what do you think? Is it a commodity? Is it a security here? But I want to ask you about just the Robinhood angle here, because I feel like this is kind of slipping under the radar. They're going to market sell millions of dollars worth of Cardano over the next few days. But when I think of a Cardano holder, I think of, hey, crypto guy is kind of nerdy. The Cardano guy is even nerdier. So I see that they're maybe less likely to use Robinhood. They're maybe more likely to self-custody here. Does that track for you? Do you think this Cardano news, being delisted, is that going to affect the Cardano community at whole? Will they care at all? Or is it just the retail people?
I think it's a great question. And I think one of the things that we're diving into at the moment is the US is going to very quickly realize how much the rest of the world matters, and that the US may have been on top of things for a long time. We're starting to see that it was more of a dog and pony show than actually us being on top. A lot of social construction, a lot of narrative shifting, there's a lot going on. So with Cardano being listed from Robinhood, I don't think it's going to be such an impact in terms of, because people that trade Cardano, the majority are or aren't on Robinhood. I think it will cause a little bit of sell pressure for sure. But I think, looking to the future, it's what I try to do when I'm investing in any project. I look to the fact that Cardano is investing in one of the fastest growing economies in many different countries on the continent of Africa, and building the blockchain infrastructure there. That's it's not going to give you a return in the next week or the next year, probably not even the next 2 years. But in terms of just that fundamental development alone, as they grow into the digital age there, they're going to already have an infrastructure that people are comfortable with Cardano, especially, I forget is it World Mobile, or I can't remember the name of the mobile aspect that they're working on there as well. But I don't think the Robinhood thing is going to be as much of a sell-off as we thought, because we've already seen 90+% drop from the top back last year. And then the dips where we're at now, I just think there's so many people that are so about Cardano, regardless of all this FUD. I think that this is just a high time for accumulation zone, if you plan with a healthy strategy and with good risk management and with the proper time horizon in mind, not just buying it today, hoping to get rich tomorrow. I do think it's going to take some time.
All right, the guy in the green box says it's high time, everybody. Tyler May, just to be honest here, didn't Indonesia also say 500 other cryptos are commodities? Yeah, pretty much. But don't deflate our bullish narrative here. Now, Mineyour Biz, I just kind of want to know, what are your broad thoughts on Cardano's place in the market ecosystem? At least when you look at the top 20, top 25 coins, largely decentralized compared to the other top players there. I mean, does this have a good place in the crypto ecosystem with the not to, to dig into your business too much, but what do you think about it?
Yeah, so as far as it being a contender in the top 25, as far as it being having really strong fundamentals and being very decentralized, I think that the lineup of Cardano being right next to Dogecoin is poetry. It's absolutely beautiful, and I brings a tear to my eye every time I look at CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, frankly, because you have these two projects that are extremely strong in fundamentals. They both take different sides of the proof of work versus proof of stake debate. There are not smart contracts on top of Dogecoin. Dogecoin does a lot of what Bitcoin does, only a lot with flair, and Cardano does something very, very different, or it aims to solve problems that are very, very different from these more simple, currency only plays in the in the proof of work or in the UTXO space, like Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Dogecoin. So I love that Dogecoin and Cardano have a less than $1 billion market cap difference. Every time I see that, again, DZ, my heart fills with joy, and rainbows and balloons emanate from my aura. It's something that actually brings joy to me, because it shows that there's perfect opportunity for a project that is trying to solve real world problems with smart contracts and various other layers that can get a lot more complex with the financial instruments that will eventually ride on top of Cardano rails. Right? Knock on wood. We'll see when smart contracts at scale are being delivered, or when the throughput that was promised many years ago is finally delivered. And then you have something like Dogecoin that is kind of a pet rock in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. And it's still just there laughing at all of us with that over $9 billion market cap. So how do I feel about that being a top 25 contender? I feel very good. I do. I feel very, very good. And I think that Cardano is going to be that project that, based on those fundamentals, the permissionlessness and decentralization of the node infrastructure, that in a few years, as we see more of the ecosystem develop, I think that it is going to start to get a little bit more of its its props. It's going to get a lot more of the due respect that it's been working so hard for. But it's going to take delivering a lot more throughput, in my mind, in order to get there. For me, I've still got that bit of concern and doubt in the back of my mind, which is why I think it's totally appropriate that it's right next to it.
Yeah, we all had that friend 2018, 2019, just telling us Cardano 2 years from now. God, oh my God, it's going to be every school record in the world. Here we are at 2023. All right, well, my Piano Matty B, and to the point of Cardano, Dogecoin, less than $1 billion. It looked like 9.2 to 10.1 there, $1 billion there. But what do you think about the potential Asian gold rush happening right now? We have Indonesia, labeling it a commodity. We have Hong Kong about to open up trading. I pull up Cardano, we're 28.6 cents. You look at the max here, it's been a long time. I mean, since we ran up in January of 2021, we really haven't been at levels this low since. Now we're kind of just bouncing around in this bear market bottom. You hear this, the 6 month right now. This is the 3 month. What are your thoughts on its price action? I mean, will we bounce from these lows? I mean, was 20 cents, 21 cents the bottom? I hear a lot of people saying 10 cent ADA. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think all of these alts to a certain degree are just functions of the Bitcoin market. Bitcoin goes up, these alts go up, et cetera, et cetera. But I do think that Asia is going to lead basically the next bull run with their opening up. And the United States isn't the biggest market. Like we tend to think it is, but it isn't as big as we think it is. But they'll come around because they'll be forced to, because they can't be left behind. I mean, it's going to go somewhere else real fast, and then they're going to be the losers. But back to the Cardano thing, I think you hit it right. Whereas there's levels of Cardano nerddom, right? So just to get in the Cardano party that really isn't a party, you have to be a certain, like a high level nerd. But then the Cardano nerds that are on Robinhood, man, that's just a whole other level of Cardano. They don't get invited to all the Cardano parties, like the Dungeons and Dragons and the game and the Go games and whatever. They just get left behind. But I like Cardano at the end of the day.
I was going to say, being a Reddit mod is a full-time job. So, that's they got to do something with their time there. All right, let's roll on here to the 10 largest Ethereum wallets. Non-exchange wallets is very important. We're not talking about Binance. Okay, we're talking about just the big whales. And They have never held more Ethereum in its entire history. That is right. We hit an all-time high for amount of Ethereum held by the 10 wallets. And this is coupled with the news, exchange supply, it is at dang near an all-time low. We haven't been this low for ETH on exchanges since 2015, folks. We're talking about pre-2017 bull run numbers. We're at 8-year low for Ethereum on exchanges. This is from Santiment. It looks like the largest whales, they're accumulating off the exchanges, putting it in, and then preferring to self-custody their keys there. Now, Crypto Slate, they did some numbers also when we looked at the staked ETH number, and today it looks like about 19% of the supply is locked. So we do have a lot of ETH staked, but we have big whales doing massive accumulation sprees. Again, all-time high for the 10 largest wallets. Now, Kelly, you're the one looking at some of these. Or go ahead. Mine. Go ahead.
Is it these top 10 wallets? Do they have enough for staking with the new proposed rules?
64. Probably one guy. Probably one. The 9 other guys, though, they're going to have to consolidate. They're going to pull their resources. That is the 64,000 ETH question there. But you know what, Mineyour Biz, I'll roll to you here. I mean, exchanges, they're at the lowest supply since 2015. And when I saw that, I was pretty shocked. Do you think that we could hit a supply squeeze? Because you brought up the staked ETH. We have a lot of people centralized. I'll stake my 0.2 with Coinbase. So we have a lot of ETH. It's locked up. We're 1 in 5 ETH is locked up. We got the whales. They're accumulating. They don't look like they're dumping anytime soon. Exchanges all-time low. Is this a perfect storm for a supply squeeze?
I mean, it certainly looks like one, but here's the thing. Ethereum, or Ether, the token itself, is a utility token. It's meant to be used for gas fees. So I know that we've gotten really used, over the last 10 years, we've really gotten used to having paper derivatives of these very decentralized, right, projects, Bitcoin, Ethereum, even ADA, right? You talked just the previous segment was entirely on Cardano and the problem with Cardano not being accessible on Robinhood. Well, why is that a problem? These are permissionless systems that are supposed to empower the individual to be more sovereign because they can use them in these ways. And specifically Cardano being a utility token to power the gas fee system of that whole ecosystem. And now Ether being a utility token to power the gas fee ecosystem, gas fee marketplace of Ethereum. Why are we so incredibly worried about how much is going to be on exchange? As far as there being a supply squeeze, there's plenty of liquidity on chain. Go to Uniswap, check the charts, go to DEX tools, go to any number of aggregators, go to Matcha, see if you can find what you need by way of volume there. And I think that most people watching this show and anybody, who we're connected with that breathes the air that we do, you're probably going to find any size order that you need filled natively on chain, permissionlessly, in a decentralized fashion. Permissionlessly. No if ands or buts, no background checks, no IP locks, no, hey, you whatever, your great aunt used to be from North Korea, so you don't know crypto for you. Like, this is just supposed to be for us. So like, you may be right. There could be the conditions for a squeeze, right? Supply squeeze. But in my mind and with my worldview, don't care. Could not care less. Hold your own keys, use your own cheese. Ether is a utility token, not designed for weird paper derivatives or leverage or all this other nonsense that we think we need on these centralized custodial services. So like, I don't see the problem here.
Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. I mean, if Justin Sun can sell, his amounts of ETH, I'm sure you could find. And good point with Uniswap, and the DeFi protocols might be where people need to go now, so they don't impact. If you're selling all 2 ETH that you got back from Celsius, like me, then you don't have to worry about that big supply crunch there. All right, well, Kelly, I want to ask you about the whale wallets being at an all-time high. It looks like we have a little bit of extra centralization happening right now. Should I worry about this becoming more centralized? Do I have to worry about an ETH foundation, dumping on me at the top, 4,500? Some of these ETH whales, are they all talking, and are they all going to dump on me at the same time?
I don't know. I think that's a good question. Let me make sure I'm not muted. Okay. One of the things that comes to mind when you ask that question is the nature of especially in the US predominantly, if you have institutions that are part of those whale wallets, especially when we're considering Bitcoin, also now thinking about ETFs and stuff with BlackRock and, all these other ETF applications that are out there. We want this to be decentralized, right? So the best way we can do that is vote with our buck. means transition or trade your buck, your fiat buck, for a decentralized asset like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Cardano. And the problem is, as this moves along, we can see that retail gets flooded out of the market quite easily until they've been in the market and they've done a couple of different swings around. And we're seeing a shift in maturity in the market, partially, I think, because, and I talked about this on this morning's BitLab stream, partially because there was cascading failures of all kinds of different businesses and exchanges throughout the crypto ecosystem in 2022, 2021, and 2022. And then we had the banks, which is the traditional side, cascading failures, and some of the biggest banks in history failing. So there's a sort of flight. There's a natural flight to safety, which you can't do with the fiat dollar, but you can do with Bitcoin. You can do with Ethereum. You can do with digital assets. You can self-custody to them to mine your business point. Now, in terms of, am I worried about the whales, what they're doing? You know what I learned, probably not young enough. I learned that the easiest way to happiness and to achieve your goals is to stop comparing yourself to others. I don't care what the hell the whales are doing. I'm concerned with making sure that I'm setting myself up with the positive financial future, and also not having the government have control over my assets that I've worked hard to accumulate. So are they accumulating? Maybe, yes. The data shows they are. That gives me more incentive to want to be front running them by actively making sure I'm eating ham sandwiches and I'm not going out to dinner. And yes, I just moved into a nice place, but I did it very considerately, on a budget, and I saved and I took some profits. But I want to make sure that I am in a position that I am not trying to chase the whales in the future by making sure that I'm accumulating now.
All right. And speaking of that room, I think DJ Flexa said it best in the super chat, or the chat right there. That room's got hella windows. So, hey, we like the new setup you got going on. All right. Well, Piano Maddie B, man, I'd like to know what you think about some of these whales. Are you one of these whales, Maddie? Are you one of them?
Unfortunately not. I'd like to think I'm a whale in my son's eyes when it comes to everything, but no, not when it comes to ETH.
All right. Well, good stuff there. All right. Well, I guess I'll ask you to read their mind instead. If you had to guess this whale thesis, they're all in accumulation mode. They've never had more in this entirety of Ethereum's existence here. So what are they thinking? Why aren't they just full blown, I got to buy all the ETH mode?
Well, this is a theory, and it's probably very far from the truth, but I like to think that these 10 whales all know each other, and they basically coordinate this stuff. They phone each other and they say, okay, you guys ready? It's go time. I'll let you all know when we're going to dump on retail, right? And when we hear dump on retail, it affects retail in a huge way. But for them, they're just taking profits like Kelly did for his house, just to take a little bit off the top. Unfortunately for retail, that little bit off the top in a whale is catastrophic to the market. But guess what? What Mineyour Biz said was exactly right. What do you care what the whales do? There's nothing you can do about what they do. And if you have a long time horizon, you just set sail for your goal, 7 years minimum out. And then guess what? Here's a shocker. The market's going to go up and down between now and 7 years, or whatever your time horizon is. Hopefully it's that long. And the whales are going to come and go. But this is their game. They accumulate, then they dump on retail, then they do it again. It's just how they... What a way to make a living. It's amazing, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like that, DZ?
I would love that. And speaking of whales, you never practice hitting golf balls off into the water, do you? Costanza
I do.
style.
I have a right on the top there.
Oh, man. Well, hopefully the sea is not angry that day, my friend. Well, I think that's all we got time for. Or go ahead.
I wanted to add the thing I wanted to include in my statement was when I mentioned all this stuff about the U.S. institutional, if there are whales that are U.S. based, we still have to consider what the timeline is going to be. I guess it's a regulation on fair value accounting, because if that doesn't change sometime in the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to see a different type of behavior than institutions just enduring through different parts of the market. Because currently institutions or publicly traded companies cannot do that, because the second the price goes down, they're very concerned with that, because it changes the way they have to report losses. Even if they don't take anything off the table, they immediately have to show a loss, even at the end of the year, if they're up $100 million. So when the fair value accounting rules change, I think that will also not alleviate entirely, but change some of the behaviors, because it'll allow institutions to get in better spots in the lower bottom part of the market, and then endure for longer. Even if there's a bull market peak, they don't have to worry about it, because they were able to get such a low price. They're just going to hold.
All right,
but that's just a hope and a dream.
Yeah, just a hope and a dream. Well, thank you for giving us that little window into your thoughts there. Taking a little peek into that. We don't want you to close the curtain on what you're thinking, for sure. All right, but it looks like Mineyour Biz ended up taking it home. So I'm gonna leave it to you. No window pun. I was gonna do something with Sill, but then I was like, no one's gonna get that one. So all right, Mineyour Biz, feel free. Leave us with some parting thoughts, please.
Okay, I don't know how the point scoring gods decided to tip this in my favor. I would love to do a split screen friendship close here and invite Kelly to shill for the final 30 seconds, because I don't know how y'all didn't give it to him. I needed to learn about that fair value accounting personally. But
yeah, good old Gap.
Well, the only thing I can say, thank you, DZ, for always hosting such a wonderful show. Mineyour Biz, always bringing such knowledge. Everybody, if you see Mineyour Biz's Twitter account and have any sort of issues, go in there, tag Elon Musk, tag Twitter, because these sort of suppression of positive actors in the space, while they can't get the bots under control, it's some bullshit. Well, that's all I got to say. I hope everybody does well. Hit that like button. Stay positive. Remember to enter low and sell high.
All right, and I heard what helps you do that is hitting the like button, because DJ Fluxa, he had one more question. What makes an ETH whale? Well, it's more than what I got, but if you hit that like button, we're all going to get there together, folks. That's how it works, literally. All right, so please do that. We'll see you tomorrow. Make sure you go down into the description. Check the links below. Everyone's got really, really great content that they're putting out, and maybe that could be you walking happily on the beach. All right, until next time, easy out.